Everybody, this is Paul Hitchcock. I'm the founder and president of Giant Jacks Media, and this is my channel, Giant TV, where I have incredible entrepreneurs and leaders on it offering value. And certainly, Jeffrey and Hilary are two great ones. Welcome to the episode, both of you.
Thank you. Great to be here with you both.
Yeah, we're going to get right into this. Jeffrey is a master chair for Vistage, doing great things. We're going to start with you and hear about that, Jeffrey. And Hilary, you got a lot going on. Executive presence, expert, Vistage speaker, fruitful fiction, which we're going to find out about. And but Jeffrey, let's first get in with you. And what is going on with your Vistage practice? What are you doing there?
Sure. Thank you. So at this point, I have 5 groups. I have 2 chief executive groups. Members of those groups, CEOs and business owners with revenues anywhere up to about $250 million. I have a key executive group, which would be the folks reporting into my chief executives. Trusted advisor group for service providers to be available for my CEO members. And my newest group is an emerging leader group,
Oh,
a 12-week curriculum-based program for the future leaders of the organization.
and Jeffrey, you're in the greater Hartford area. That's where you're
That's
focused.
correct.
Yeah, and I got to imagine. So, in the process is you're getting together monthly with the CEOs. Is that right?
I get together monthly with all my groups except the emerging leader group.
Okay.
In the case of the CEO group, I also do a one-to-one coaching session each month. The groups get together to work on issues, challenges, and opportunities. And in the CE groups and my key executive group, I get to bring in amazing speakers like Hilary for my members to really be able to learn new skills and how to improve, how to grow personally and professionally. My emerging leader group, we meet 6 times a year, and I also bring in amazing speakers for that group.
You find that when you're running your practice with these leaders that they're coming in and they really are opening up about their businesses and helping each other, not only in the meeting, but outside of the meeting, and you see a difference there?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, One of my groups, they meet for breakfast 2 weeks after every one of our monthly meetings. I hear from all my CEO members how they've been in touch with other folks in a group during the month. Um, I've had, by way of example, in one of my meetings, I had a member check in with a very low rating on his business. He didn't believe he was going to survive another week. And the group was able to totally drill into the issues he was up against,
Huh?
totally come up with solutions. And before the end of the meeting, he had gone from a 1 to an 8 on where his personal feeling was about his business. So it's amazing to see the way the members help each other, how deep they go. I purposely build the groups from a diverse set of industries,
Yeah.
and I look for people who are non-competitive so that it creates that safe space. And the safe space definitely leads to vulnerability, and there's plenty of that in my meetings.
What's your role there in the meeting? Do you stand back and let and just kind of foster the activity, or how do you position yourself there?
So I'm the facilitator of the meeting, obviously.
Yeah.
I try to remain fully in facilitation mode. And if I feel that there's a question begging to be asked, I will suggest to the members that they think about some other aspect of the issue and think about what else they'd like to know about the issue. So I try to help prompt members when they may be missing a point.
Are there open seats available now for the various groups?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Any particular industries you're looking at?
I'm looking across all industries. The 2 industries that I have pretty well saturated in all my groups are wealth management and managed service providers. Outside of that, I have opportunities for folks in any industry.
Wonderful. Well, I want to say to those people listening, both for Hillary and Jeffrey, contact information is going to be around this episode. We simulcast this everywhere, so get connected for sure. And Hillary, let's jump in. I know you and Jeffrey have had a lot of interaction. You have been a speaker at his group. So
Mhm.
tell us about you and what you're focused on.
I am one of the Vistage speakers because I come with a set of skills, training, workshop, all kinds of interactive exercises and ideas to deliver, share, and facilitate with the groups to help them have a few more tools to move forward. What's fun for me as a Vistage speaker is knowing that I am what a part of, I'm going to say, sorry, I had 12 words jump in my mind at the same time. Part of, collected with, I get to learn from an incredible host of experts. So I am one of many that the Vistage chairs get to choose from.
Yeah,
And the Vistage members. Where my mind is going is what's exciting is with Vistage groups is that they have a lot of speakers, which can also be a little bit like, oh, they're so used to having speakers, they have really high expectations. Isn't that
yeah,
great? They have a lot of they have a lot of speakers, so they have high expectations because the way the groups work, they are hungry to learn and they are discerning because they have guests come in and what can they use. So with a really excellent chair like Jeff, he is really guiding the learning and as he mentioned, kind of going in when he needs to. I say pulling the threads. There are lots of threads, and he decides which threads to pull. I'm doing that as well. And as a Vistage speaker, it can be daunting at times because there are such high expectations and all the different needs in the room. And I love offering up a buffet of services connected with communication. For me, interpersonal communication for individuals from leadership to all the different levels, and then how they work as a team.
hmm,
And you know what I love is people are coming in hungry. They have this problem. This month they're coming with this problem. And you come and they're like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I needed. I just had that happen earlier this week. It's like, that is, okay, you're speaking to exactly what I needed. And I love when that happens. Some people
yeah,
store it away. So I
yeah.
do executive presence coaching and training. And I have a pretty specific vision of what that is, that it's all about being in relationship and how do you as a leader remain connected to all the different people, whether it's client, whether it's direct report, whether it's your fellow leadership team. And a lot of communication elements come in there because
Oh
of
yeah.
what we do. And then, my favorite thing right now is bringing those skills together, communication skills with presence skills. And we're working on fruitful friction. So the idea being that often we think of friction as negative, and yet friction is inevitable. Conflict isn't. So how do we have fruitful friction? How do we stay in conversation to move forward before it becomes conflict? So I call it preactive. How do we get ready with the skills to do that? And
I love it. Well, I wanted to ask you real quick
yeah,
is, so what are the problems that exist where
yeah,
you're in there in the first place? Like you said, okay, I'm working on, presence,
yeah.
better communication, but what is going on where they need help?
So the main thing I run into is they're tired and overworked.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
they're
yeah. I love
tired and
it.
overworked. And we're talking about the idea of you have to connect with your people more. So the problem is this seeming contradiction, right? Is like, wait a minute, I'm too tired to do all of that. And what I love about the communication skills we work on and the executive presence skills is that the more we dive into the details of it, it becomes far more intentional because with executive presence, they can't be present all the time. They truly won't have any energy left. So by separating out the skills, they know how to be intentional with what level of presence they have when they need to really drop in and be fully present. I mean, it'd be lovely if we could do that all day long, right?
Yeah,
Will completely get drained and also not have anything to take home to our loved ones, right? Whatever that may look like. So you're
yeah,
so exhausted, you're like, I'm too tired to do anything. So the idea is to pull apart all the elements and the different tools and techniques that help us connect authentically, really being honest. One of the classic examples, Jeff let me know if you agree with this, is that a lot of executives, the higher up they get, the harder it is for them to get from the front door to their office without a story being put on them. If they don't say hi to everybody, they're rude. But if they say
Oh,
hi to everybody and connect, then they don't get to their office, they don't get to the meeting, they spend all the time there. So, what are the techniques? This may sound silly, but what are the techniques to actually connect and let people know I have to get to my office now? I see you. And we talk about see and be seen. And that is the basic foundational skill because it is hard. They're like, they put their head down, they go, not because they're rude, because they have a lot to do. And if they don't want to
yeah,
make eye contact, because then they lose an hour. So
right,
we're
right.
working on that.
Well, yeah, because I was going to ask you when you said executive presence. I went to present where in meetings,
Ah,
walking around the office, one on one,
yep.
with somebody. Is it all those things?
Yes, that therefore why it's tricky, right? And
Yeah,
how do we activate which parts? And we are authentic human beings as long as we are showing up and connected as we are. And we're authentic even if we're different in those different settings because we are multifaceted human beings. So people say, well, I'm the same everywhere. And I'm like, that might be a little creepy because that might be more of a mask than the fact that I actually connect to people differently, depending what we're talking about, depending on the relationship, depending how well I know you. All those kinds of things should shift. We can be fake. I always joke, we're
yeah.
good at being fake. We can do that too. To your point of all those different places. And when we sometimes talk about executive presence, people think about eye contact, clothing, what's the wording and charisma and all those elements.
Mhm.
I talk about those being the ingredients to show your value that keep you in relationship. So those are
Yeah.
important, but they're important as the little levers. And I could wear my pajamas today, right? I could be totally in my pajamas right now. It wouldn't, I would still have my executive presence and connecting. It would be harder for you to connect to the value I'm bringing. So we wear clothing to signal who we are and what we bring to the relationship. And we talk about eye contact, which is very cultural, right? In the US, it matters. And
Yeah.
same with language and words and how we use our voice and so many elements. So they are the ingredients that we use to create relationship and show you the value that we bring.
Interesting. I wanted to just Jeffrey, get your thought on that. So as Hillary's talking about that, in your meetings and so forth, are these issues coming up about, executive leadership and how they're dealing with the employees and so forth? Is it a big deal?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It always amazes me in my groups with the diversity of industries that are represented in the group, how common the problems are across all the industries.
Yep.
One of the things that I often tell people when they're thinking about a group is that we all grow up in a given industry and we learn if A happens, you do B.
Mhm.
Someone else learns if A happens, you do X. And a third person, if A happens, you do G. Well, when the issue you're talking about is A, and all of a sudden you're getting these diverse inputs that are totally out of your domain, totally out of the way you would think about the problem, and be able to now consider the perspectives of what work in other industries and create a solution for you to be able to move forward with. It's just magical.
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
totally agree.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just thinking, yeah, I mean, some of the great leaders I've seen in office settings, they're out and about. They make a point of coming
Mhm.
out, touching people, and not physically, but just, interacting with them, and making their presence known. Then they go back into the office. It's like they've got a structure about it, and it really makes a difference when they're interacting like that. And then Hilly, you mentioned the fruitful
Friction.
friction. Yeah,
Yes.
friction. I can't say that
I
10
like
times
fruitful
fast.
fiction too. That's good. Fruitful fiction or fruitful friction. Yeah,
It's
it's
making
hard
me
to say.
hungry. It's making me hungry. I'm just thinking fruit. Uh, so what is that about? Because those are two contrasting words, right? Fruitful, fiction.
Yeah. So what happens is that I can toss out a bunch of things. I think that we default to polite. And
Ah,
often, oddly, polite is a wall. Kind is relationship. So I'm talking a lot about what puts up walls and what allows us to connect. And I have been exploring this for a long time, read a lot of my colleagues who write amazing books and have great programs. And that concept of being avoiding is very similar to attacking, right? So they are both about keeping us safe. So if Jeff says
Mm,
something that I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't want to go there. Like we'll say, oh my goodness, I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to go there. I can avoid or I can zing him. And both of those are what keep me safe, right? Because I'm going behind these two walls. In between these two walls of avoid and attack is this delightful place called the messy middle. And the messy middle is where we come together. And if we have the tools to stay in the messy middle, we have fruitful friction, which leads to innovation and to collaboration and co-creation and all of that. And so really fruitful
mm,
friction is allowing the the possibility that friction creates pearls. Friction creates traction, which keeps us on the road or keeps our feet, firmly moving forward. So if we smooth things over, which a lot of us are thinking, I just want to smooth it over. What happens is we lose traction, right? We go flying off the road. And so if we can learn how to have fruitful friction, not go all the way to conflict, just understand how to toss ideas off of each other, which is what Vistage truly is about. That's what it is,
yeah,
right? And help people have the skills to stay in the messy middle when they get uncomfortable. We have great progress and success. So we're really talking about fruitful friction for everyday conversations, and then we can miss out on some of the conflict. You're going to have some conflict, right? We're human beings.
yeah,
Goodness me,
yeah.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I want to ask
I
you this.
love that, Hilary.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so okay, so let me dive on that a bit
Yeah,
because to have between management and employees
right.
for there to be uh friction there,
Yep.
there has to be an open environment of communication where the leadership, correct me if I'm wrong, needs to foster the fact that employees can question
Right.
where it can even get to friction. Is that a fair way to describe that?
Well, I would say that even questioning is the friction. I think friction is much less intense than conflict ideas, really just
Okay.
difference of ideas. There are two main paths. One path is I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to figure out how I can keep psychologically safe and take care of myself and keep my boundaries. Boundaries are different than walls. Keep my boundaries in place and drop my
Mm,
walls to be
mm,
ready for a conversation. And I'm going to come regardless of where I am in the structure, right? Whatever level
yeah.
I am. Then there is the idea of working with teams and organizations to build a culture that creates an environment for entering the
Uh,
messy middle for fruitful friction. But they are really different because what do you do if I'm meeting with a client? I can't have the client decide that they are also going to join my venture into the messy middle. But I
yeah.
can think, can I stay present? What are my individual tools? What's my heightened self-awareness to stay present and not get triggered into defensiveness? How to not avoid? How do I stay present and maneuver through that? It sometimes feels like a martial art. Sometimes I'm in a little sci-fi
Yeah.
video movie, like moving through all that. And how do I stay present to be in relationship? Because if I model that, it tends to bring someone towards me. We tend to
Mhm.
be in relationship because we get one little thing happens. We're like, oh, I'm going to be defensive too. It's tricky. I mean, Jeff knows me. I am incredibly idealistic in a realistic world. So I am, I am behind trying to figure out how to move forward with the differences going on. I'm all for a leader creating that culture. That's I love that, and we do work with teams that way. We have to have an individual version of it too because we're not always in that situation. And I want to nod to a Vistage chair around fruitful friction too. So Jeff is the kind of chair that doesn't shy away from fruitful friction, though he may not know that's what I would say. So he chooses his group. He is The successful chairs are all about challenging their members to grow and to shift and to change. It can be tempting when you're a leader to make sure everybody's okay and be liked and that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And in my small journey, right, I'm doing this for a number of years. I've done well over 100 of these, right? Is that I love being in the presence of a chair who risks challenging their members because they grow.
Mhm.
And I've seen Jeff do that. I've been in the room when he does that, and he does it kindly. He's incredibly skilled, kind, not nice, right? So he's kind in that,
Different.
and that's a delight to be in that environment. And my work is fostered in an environment like that where we're already in going, oh, wait a minute, what are we going to do? Really? Because friction is trying things on. Do I agree? I don't know if I agree. But how do we have it joyfully and playfully and fruitfully going, do I agree? Where can I go? And you need to know, Paul, that I come from the arts. So this is how theater is created. We come
Yeah, yeah,
together
yeah,
and we toss ideas out, and then we move
yeah.
forward with the best ideas.
No, that's great. And Jeff, how do you feel about that in your meetings of what Hillary's saying? And how do you know when you need to push somebody a little bit? Is it just, how do you figure that out?
I would say one of the biggest things, and certainly a big learning for me over the last 5 years since I started chairing, is that I can't be concerned about the outcome. I have to be concerned about the intention and doing what's right for the members.
Mm-hmm.
So that results in me allowing conversations in the room that other chairs would tell me you were absolutely nuts for allowing that. And what happens instead is the members gain significant benefit because the forum was there and I allowed that to come into the room and I facilitated that.
You
So I
create a
agree
safe
fully.
environment. Yep. You
Yeah.
create a safer environment for it. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, which allows people to become vulnerable in that environment, right? Where things actually get done when that's happening. It's not easy to do.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
easy to do. Yeah, and Hillary, I was going to ask you, what industries do you work with? Are you targeted all over the place, or?
You know, that pre-COVID, it seemed like I was really more in the professional industry. So a lot
Yeah,
of physicians and attorneys and this a lot of consultants and things. And I don't know what has shifted. There's been a delightful move towards sales teams, which is super fun because I don't train sales, but I train on how to be in the conversation. And then I all across right now, all different industries. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't say I'm industry agnostic because I think it resonates with some industries more. But right now, I really am working with teams in a number of manufacturing, a lot of construction. And I think some of the construction is because they're dealing with people in the status and power land, right? Sometimes we don't like
Yeah.
talking about these things, but they have to deal with a people across range of skills and life experience and all of that. So we're finding we end up in a lot of construction zones. No pun intended. That was bad. Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, I love it. Well,
Yeah.
this is fascinating to me, and I mean, we could talk for hours on this, especially the communication part of it. I find so interesting. I again will remind people, get connected to both Hillary and Jeffrey around this video wherever you're watching it, and I imagine both of you have an exploratory Zoom session you'll do if somebody wants to get on and learn more. If you
You bet.
know, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Great, love it. Thank you both for being here. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Paul,
Thank
and
you.
thank you, Hillary.
Have
All
fun,
right.
everyone. Voice on. All right.